okay, peddlers out there of nonsense. The value of your gasoline went up. Do you get it? The prices, the cost. But that's exactly what they say. Well, that's the same thing. Hey, the value of your house went up. That's a good thing. I mean, the cost, the price. And they never discuss the direct correlation on rents. You notice that? They don't want to talk about that. And homelessness, the effect it has on homelessness. And the fact that there's a glut of housing in America. There's anything but a shortage of housing. And we're spending $50 billion a year to house poor people that can't afford to pay their own rent. And all it's done is made the problem worse. And we as a society pay $100,000 a year here in California approximately to keep one prisoner in jail for 1 year. You see a sentence, oh, the guy got 99 years because he murdered someone. 99 years. You know how much money that is? Do some rough math. Let's say he got 100 years at $100,000 a year. 10 years at $1 million. 100 years is $10 million. Society is willing to spend on murderers and rapists and thieves and all the other criminals out there. Okay, that's fine. We'll pay up for that. They earned it. They committed the crime. Now they do the time, and we serve them 3 hots, a cot, hot shower, free utilities, free rent, help reintegrating. That's all normal. That all makes sense somehow. And all these jobs that surround the problem, that God forbid if the problem ever goes away, then people's job security goes away. Their relevance goes away. And you think we're not sick? This is all because we're infected with the same demons as these people at the very uppermost echelons. That's what they've done to us on a local level. We've accepted this kind of ridiculous, absurd nonsense. It's crazy, man. But it's everywhere. And I go, God, people got it, man. It's like, don't you know you're demon possessed, man? Don't you know the reason why? You can't help it. We've all got Stockholm syndrome here. We've all got a sycophantic nature at some level. We all want to suck up and be polite and get along. I find myself being more and more polite to people and respectful, calling guys sir and ma'am. And I mean, it's just, of course, we don't want to make waves. You know, live and let live. Go with the flow, the path of least resistance and all that crap. We get it. We want it somehow to make sense. We've got willful cognitive dissonance, willful ignorance, willful stupidity, willful self-deception, willful delusion. We got so much crap going on that only God through prayer can help us sort out. It's like we got these muddy, bloodied waters we've been forced to swim in since birth, and our parents are swimming in the same crappy waters. We're told that's the only waters, all these turds floating in the punch bowl of joy that we could otherwise have if we let God get his way in our lives, in our society, in our civilization. But we're going to keep drinking this turdy punch. It's sick, man. Hey, it doesn't help to deny it. What do they say? We've all got our own demons to overcome, to struggle with, right? And it doesn't help to deny it. Confession is the answer. You put it out there on the table with God. He already knows everything about you. He knows you could say to the whole world, to yourself, and believe it that you don't love money. But God sees in your heart. He owns your heart. He knows whether your heart is pure or whether it's not. We could convince ourselves of stuff. We actually delude ourselves as a form of self-defense to get along, to just, God, I just have to, I've got to accept and just comply and conform and capitulate to the will of my masters and keep believing that inflation is somehow a good thing, What a load of BS, man. I mean, that's all we're fed from birth, okay? We don't know. I mean, just think how dramatically and profoundly different our reality would be without any form of money at all. That is God's will. And it's not a question of if that his will is going to be established on earth. It's a question of when. That is the prophecy of no less than Jesus Christ himself, the horse's mouth. That is what's coming. And that's what you need to be ready for. That's what you got to want. You got to be of one mind with God, and you got to get it. God's planet, we're God's equally beloved children. What would be the message if you were God and you had 8 billion children? Would it be any different? You're going to play favorites? You're going to say share, get along. What do you want for your kids? Live together in peace and harmony, safety, security, freedom, and prosperity? Of course you do. That's only reasonable. That's only logical. That's only intellectual. That, of course, holds water. And that's the heart and mind of God. He's trying to imbue us with. We need to accept it. See, he doesn't want to be pure of heart. I'm not. I've got some issues, but at least if I confess them to you, God, I could be forgiven. But if I don't confess them, then there's nothing to forgive, I'm telling you. Because I'm right with you, God. I'm always right, and you're not. Because we can delude ourselves. We've got to be cognizant of that truth. We all have a propensity to deceive, to let every man be called a liar. We've all got our reasons, and typically it revolves around fears, insecurities. Okay? But God can never lie. He's always faithful and true and honest. Friends, here's a note on being overly judgmental, at least to the point of condemnation. We could be discerning, but not condemning. It does no good, because we're going to be judged with the measure we judge others according to Christ. If you want slack, give slack. It's the same thing Martin Luther King Jr. and Jesus Christ said. I mean, and the idea of being discriminating based on somebody's color, their skin, is the stupidest, most immature, nonsensical thing in the world. Like Martin Luther King Jr. said, judge a man based on the content of his character, not the color of his skin. If you're an egalitarian, it cuts through all that crap, man. You believe in full equality. You believe in having things God's way is what you believe. I was calculating that if you endeavored to live your life attempting to simply count in seconds using the 1 1000, 2 1000, and on method, that you would never live to reach the number 3 billion, especially if you got eight hours of sleep every night. Just a little factoid there. Here's a note on women and men. For guys, I can tell you this. Look, guys, a woman is the single greatest gift, I believe, that God can ever bestow upon a man. I really do. A beloved. Okay, that's it, man. It doesn't get better than that. I mean, you got an ocean of joy at your hands, ever growing. If you're 100% committed, and she is to you, it's as good as it gets, guys. That's it, man. I mean, single men, I mean, you don't have an ocean. You got a stagnant pond to swim in. That's about it. It really is. The big game changer in a man's life is having a beloved, as we all already know, right? Women seem to be very well aware of their value to a man, and more men need to realize their value to a woman too. Our society doesn't seem to reflect that. It's like prophesied in Scripture, a time when men, their value is reduced to a loaf of bread, and then I think about the sperm banks out there. Yeah, it's about where we are in history. About the worth of a loaf of bread, right? All right, friends, for the last couple of minutes, I'm going to get on to a couple of thoughts I've had from the last couple of weeks. Making love to our beloveds is akin to, by extension, making love to God. We're made in the image and likeness of God, male and female. It's a beautiful thing. Like it or not, God is always with you, with us. Though he may oppose some of your thinking, speech, and deeds, he is nevertheless always on your side, our side, as a best friend. Appreciating people is a very real form of loving people. Women drive men nuts, and men couldn't imagine it being any other way. One of the many negative consequences of not personally identifying and categorizing the things in life that bug us is that for weak-minded people, that is a foible which we all can sometimes fall prey to, is that it can lead to paranoia for some, feelings that life and people are picking on them for others, but really this fact is across the board, and others simply may become criminally minded. So there exist two categories for the things that currently bug human beings. And they are one, organic annoyances, including death itself, and can be identified as such as all they affect humans across the board. And number two is inorganic. These annoyances are very lopsided, biased, and discriminatory, and always relate to money as the method for selective misery.